You're listening to Body Talk, Healthy Living Sonoma Style. I'm Heather Morgan, Nutrition and Healthy Living Coach, and I invite you to stay tuned for the next hour. Get educated, get inspired, and become a healthier you. All right. Hey, everyone. You're listening to Body Talk. I'm Heather Morgan, Nutrition and Healthy Living Coach, and I am joined today by Sam Shay. Sam Shay is back on the phone. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing well, Heather. Thank you.
Great. So we have Dr. Sam Shay calling in from New Zealand, and Dr. Shay is a wellness expert, a chiropractor, and expert on addiction. And you have some very successful programs in helping people, not only with addiction, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that term, but with people. I think in today's society, so many people are just hyper-focused and quite honestly have things in their life, and just about everybody has something in their life that might be excessive. Or maybe they're over-consuming sugar, or, just fixated on a certain video game or whatever. It's just you have really good programs to help with mindset and ways that people can recognize and move beyond these excessive behaviors and flourish and actually have better balance in their lives. Correct?
Yeah, it's about people. The term addiction is really loaded. People have these images of some guy shivering in the corner with needles out of his arms, and that's not
right.
It has to be really redefined. It talks about a really excessive or overuse relationship with something in your life that's used to numb out, as a go-to to try to instantly feel better when you know that there's something deeper going on inside. You just don't. It's used as a coping mechanism, an emotional crutch.
Sure.
And an addiction with a capital A, that's just an extremely severe form
manifestation.
Of it. And unfortunately, the term has been so stigmatized with images on TV and all these other things that it's really a spectrum, and it goes from, overusing to like really excessive, and then on the far end, addicted with a capital A. And
yeah.
I feel like people have this dichotomous relationship where they're like, no, I'm not addicted, and they're like, oh, God, I'm just so trapped in my addiction. It's either they're aggro against the word, or they embrace it so much it's like part of their identity, and that creates its own set of problems.
Oh, that's a really good point. Well, I think that, it's pretty hard to deny that many people, and if not most, do have something in their lives, whether it's coffee, maybe sugar, maybe, being on the internet, whatever, that is over excessive to the point where it's affecting either their health. And I think that's really the main one. I think, when we look at, the most common addiction really would be sugar. I mean, I don't know if people really realize, but, we just way overconsume sugar. And when you remove that, many people have a very, very hard time being without it.
Yeah, people are I'm a former sugar addict and also a former video game addict.
Right.
I'm very familiar with sugar in particular. I remember eating bags and bags and bags of Kit Kats and other M&Ms, like literally just going the Crunchy bars, those were a particular vice, and the Kit Kats had this whole ritual of how you eat them. And, you take the ends off of chocolate and then the top, and then, if you're really skilled, you can actually pick what layer of the Kit Kat you would gnaw off the top first. And
oh, my gosh.
This whole ritual, and that's part of, it was escapism is really what it was. And, I was young enough to not realize the true nature of what I was really doing in terms of it was using as an emotional crutch. People are struggling with, like I did, with sugar because it's a very easy thing to get sucked into for a number of reasons. One, because it's just
everywhere. Right.
And, right now, even for a kid, you walk into any supermarket, it's at eye level of the kids, which I personally think is a bit criminal, but
right.
unethical to put it lightly.
Totally
I don't
agree.
think it's right to put that type of stuff at eye level for the kids.
I agree.
But it's everywhere. Plus, there's this cultural association of sweetness with love. And we don't when someone's birthday, we don't give them sour pickles. Like we give them sugary cake.
Right.
And because sugar's associated with love and joy and celebration. The other thing is that anthropologically, we as humans, sugar was incredibly rare in most parts of the world, except in rare times, a couple weeks out of the year, maybe a couple months out of the year when the fruits were in season.
Right, that's so true.
And if you're a hunter-gatherer and you need calories, sugar is the fastest way to get it. Mm-hmm. And so you could binge on sugar, and then as a hunter-gatherer, then if you carried extra pounds around your belly, which is a typical of a massive sugar consumption, that's fine, because if you're going to collect weight in a semi-starvation period, you want it to be around the belly, because then it leaves your hips and your shoulders completely free to run or fight for your life and chase after something or run away from something, so you can still hunt and gather and survive. I mean, it'd be very awkward to have all the weight collect around your ankles and wrists. You'd basically be walking the pin to the ground. So there's a direct connection between sugar dysregulation and, say, adrenal fatigue and body fat distribution based on our anthropological development. And you can see this, what happens now when we have too much consistent exposure to sugar, which we have no genetic defense against it. We have no genetic defense against the taste and joy of eating sugar, because that's what we absolutely loved in a hunter-gatherer situation. So there's many things going against people who are struggling with sugar overuse, excessive use, or even addiction. And I get it, because I've been there. And it's a tough one, but it is solvable. It is something that can be broken through and you can flourish out of.
Oh, it's very, very true. And also, too, one thing to mention about sugar that's super important is sugar is really on the list of the top food intolerances and top food sensitivities, up there with wheat and corn and soy and dairy. Because we do consume so much of it, many, many people also are intolerant to sugar. So not only are they consuming sugar in itself, which is bad and harmful in many ways, but then if they happen to be one of those people who are intolerant to it, that creates another whole host of ill symptoms and can lead to lots of other health issues and health problems, autoimmune conditions and inflammation, a huge promoter of inflammation. And so I think sugar could perhaps be one of the most serious things we're abusing and for our health, and not realize it. It's one of those things that I think if people could truly get it out of their lives completely for 30 days, they would see how completely different they feel in so many ways.
I agree, and the sugar you have to remember that sugar today is very different from sugar of yesteryear. Right. The sugar our ancestors had is not the same level of chemical complexity and diversity of what it was. Back then it was fruits and honey and tubers and maybe some maple cane sugar if you actually and then it became like complex carbs when we got into an agricultural society, and then refinement came later into white sugar, and now we've got like corn syrup, which is grown in all sorts of funky ways, and then high fructose concentrate. And a movie I strongly recommend to people is called That Sugar Film, which I recommend people to go see, and it really talks about the dangers of fructose. Okay. And how it has a massive, massive effects on the hormone system, on the brain, on obesity, on the organs, and even I learned about that in biochemistry class in chiropractic school, is that the way the structure of fructose is that it is uniquely damaging to the eyes, especially because it has an extra polar group of I believe an oxygen group on one end.
Yes.
And so it makes it hyper attractive to water, which then swells the small, delicate blood vessels in the eyes. It attracts more water than the eyes can handle inside the vasculature. And that's just one of the problems. But the sugar that we're being exposed to today has been, the science behind it has gotten so refined. In fact, on that sugar film, they interview the guy, the scientist that defined the word and the dosage for the term, and this is real, the bliss point of sugar.
Sure. Well, that right there tells you it's addictive. Bliss point. Yeah.
Did you? So have you talked about the bliss point in other prior radio shows?
I have not.
Okay. So the bliss point for listeners is exactly what it sounds like. It's very aptly named. It's that amount of, if you've had something that's too sweet, it's kind of like,
right. Right.
And if it's not sweet enough, you kind of like not really satisfied. Well, bliss point is that bliss point where you feel this total sugar buzz.
Right.
And you're like riding high, and so that's what a lot of the processed food companies are aiming for, is how can we put artificially the bliss point into any form of processed food as cheaply as possible, while maintaining the veneer of being healthy or at least benign.
Absolutely. Thus, keeping the addiction going, and keeping people addicted too, makes total sense. And one of the things that we haven't talked about in relation to sugar that's equally as important, you talk about sugar today is very different from sugar of yesteryear, is the fact that the majority of the sugar is genetically modified.
Yeah. Whole other kettle of fish right there.
Whole other kettle, but another reason to say this has got to get out of people's diets. And the best way that you can do that is to avoid processed and packaged foods that are made, like you said, for the bliss point.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing you should know about the bliss point is that the bliss point is, guess what, highly addictive. I mean, who doesn't want to have more bliss in their life?
Of course. That's exactly why they do it. So it'll sell more of the processed food.
Absolutely. And the thing is that you can see this is going to lead directly into the nature of what makes someone overuse or have excessive use of a specific thing like sugar, or even get addicted to it, is that the fact that it's called the bliss point gives you a tremendous clue into the nature of this cycle that people get themselves caught up in. So here's the cycle, and this is a model that I came up with to actually explain the entire cycle of addictive behavior, and it's called the addictive beast cycle, BEAST.
Wow.
And so it begins with B, a belief, a stressful belief about something.
Great.
And then like an example of like life's unfair, he hurt me, she rejected me, there's too much to do, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I'm overwhelmed. It's some stressful belief that then leads to E, the emotional physical response. Stress, anxiety, butterflies, nervousness, tension, physical pain, sadness, grief, depression. It's the emotional physical response that immediately follows believing a stressful thought. And then it leads to, so BE, then it leads to A, anesthetizing or numbing out using a vice. And in this case, it's sugar. So the term bliss point is really aptly named because if you're feeling bad, what do you want to feel instead? Bliss, right?
Blissful, of course. You're going to do just about anything to get there. But if you can just go buy a sugary drink, that's why people's habits and behaviors are the same thing over and over, because they know when they go buy that sugary drink and drink it, they're going to hit that bliss mode. It's not because they're thirsty, because if they were thirsty, truly thirsty and not needing the bliss, they'd just get water. It's free.
Yeah. So if you continue on the same vein, talk about the health consequences, and here's the connection between a lot of people inadvertently perpetuating this cycle. So we have BEA, believe a stressful thought, emotional, physical response. A, anesthetize using a vice like, say, sugar. Then they S, smolder in the consequences of their vice. So smolder is not just the emotional experience, the imagery of someone burning in the consequences. It's actually a 7-letter acronym came up with on the 7 different types of consequences people can have. So societal consequences for the S, M for monetary, O for occupational, L for legal, D for domestic, E for energy/health consequences, and R for relationship consequences. So you can take any vice, sugar, Facebook, smoking, food, workaholism, shopping, whatever it is, and they all have a different degree of those 7 categories. But the 7 categories is a very easy way to do a checklist to see how the vice has caused damage in one's life. Now, you mentioned health, but in reality, there's 6 other categories that overuse, excessive use, or even addiction can cause the damage to. Does that make sense?
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah. So with sugar, we talk about the health consequences, whether it's long-term things like diabetes or short-term things like being on an emotional roller coaster, because your blood sugar levels strongly determine your mood levels. That's really, really important, too. Yeah, and a lot of people don't there's this hashtag going around. Have you seen hangry? Have you seen that? Hashtag
yes,
hangry?
Right.
Okay, I find that when I first saw that, I first saw that, believe it or not, on it was a picture of Alex Jameson, who is the girlfriend most people know her as the girlfriend of the guy
Super Size Me.
Super Size Me?
Right.
Okay. Adorable picture of her looking directly into the camera, like with this false sense of innocence. And the thing says, "I'm sorry for what I said. I was hungry." Hashtag hangry. And it so encapsulates it's so true, is that people lash out if their blood sugars are screwed up.
Oh, they so do. Yes, and they don't realize it. That's the thing, too, is just managing your blood sugar through diet and lifestyle can literally change someone's personality.
Yeah, and this is if people are still skeptical about what sugar really does that, ask these same people, have you seen little children the night of Halloween? After they've eaten or the days after, have you noticed they've turned into little monsters? The massive sugar.
Seriously. I mean, I've seen it. It's like Jekyll and Hyde. I've seen it in my own children when they overconsume sugar, especially with my son. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is literally like we know. And sometimes if he's in a blue mood or just cranky or whatever, we'll literally look at what he's eating, and if sugar's in it, it's like, oh, well, there we go.
Well, maybe we should make a new hashtag, Heather, called Shugangry or Shoot.
Yeah, Shangry, right? Yeah, Shug. What should it be? Yeah, like or
Shugangry,
or like mood, something like, I don't know.
Anger. I don't know how you combine the word angry and sugar, like anger, ANGUR.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Or sugar and rage. I don't know.
Sugar rage.
We'll figure it out. And if anybody
we have gamer rage. I think we talked about gamer rage last time.
Yeah, we did. And it's true. And if anybody has any ideas for that name, just go to our Facebook page. It's basically Body Talk Sonoma on Facebook, and you can give us your names. I think it'd be fun to see what people come up with.
Yeah. So we went through believe a stressful thought, emotional physical response, A, anesthetize, S, smolder in the consequences. Now, here's the real link. T, the T in the beast model, T stands for terrible thoughts about the smolder.
Oh.
So these are the thoughts about what happened after the consequences. So I just hurt my health. I just lost a night of sleep. I just spent all this money. I'm weak. I don't have any willpower. I'm pathetic. I'm worthy, I'm a bad person, I just screwed this up, I lost my job, whatever the vice was, whether smoking, food, drugs, sugar, that's going to vary, but what the damage is going to be. But the terrible thoughts about what you just did, and this is the link back into the cycle of addiction, if you then believe those terrible thoughts,
right,
then you feel bad, want to numb out, have consequences, have terrible thoughts, and if you believe them, then you feel bad, want to numb out, have consequences. So this is the vicious cycle of addiction where people think, they falsely believe that if they beat themselves up mentally about what did I just do, that I'm a bad person, I need to have more, they're actually,
I'm weak.
They're actually they're winding themselves up even more because the root stressful thought that triggered the whole cycle. I'm not worthy. That triggered the cycle. Well, was the there's not enough time. There's too much to do.
Oh, right. Interesting.
He rejected me. She rejected me. The root stressful thought that triggered the addiction had nothing to do with the addiction, the thoughts about the addiction originally.
Interesting. So true.
Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. Now, I posted an article that you've written on the Facebook page, Body Talk Sonoma on Facebook, and I posted it, I believe, yesterday. So is this mentioned in the article?
This is the article, and unfortunately, Facebook did not recognize the proper image. So,
okay, gotcha.
The image on there is pointing to the Work of Byron Katie course I made a while ago.
Right.
But so that's the wrong image, and I've been arguing with the Facebook. I don't know how much of your audience is interested in the inner workings of Facebook, but there's a whole whole issue around them quote scraping your blog to get the right image, and that's a long, harrowing, internet, boring, technical tale. But that's the wrong. But the article that you posted called the article that's posted there is about this model. It's about the article is called "How to Reverse Addiction: A New Model for the 21st Century."
Okay.
And it goes over this thing in detail, and in fact, tomorrow I'm having a live, no-cost teleseminar.
Yes.
Live meaning you listeners can ask questions.
That's awesome.
That's going to go into this cycle in a lot more detail, and that link to sign up at no cost for that live seminar it's on your Facebook page too.
Yeah, I just posted that on Facebook. So if people want to join your live teleseminar tomorrow, they can just go to the Facebook page, Body Talk Sonoma, and enroll just by clicking on the link, right?
Yeah, they click on the link, and then they put in their first name and email, and they got to register today because registration closes tonight because the thing's tomorrow.
Okay.
And just urge, and this is for people this teleseminar is people who want the help. This teleseminar is not for people who, quote, just need the help but don't want the help. This is not something for people who are dragging someone who's kicking and screaming and in total denial about what they're doing. I want to work with people who realize they want the help, not for people who are in complete denial and just are not interested in wanting help. So
gotcha.
If you have, and it's not for, quote, just, quote, addicts with a capital A who want the help. It's for anyone who has, they realize there's a problematic relationship with something that they've got, that they use as an emotional crutch. And the way you know if you have a problematic relationship is, A, do you see yourself in this cycle of believing a stressful thought, getting stressed out physically, and then reaching for an anesthesia? And another way to check is go through that smolder list. Have you experienced consequences from whatever you're using? Have you problems with societally, with money, with occupation, with the law, with your domestic situation, with your health, and with your relationships?
Right.
This is who this seminar is for.
Awesome. That's great. I love that. And it's really good and important to address the fact that, many people have something in their lives that they use as a crutch, either to, like you said, cover up emotional pain or whatever. But it's important for people to understand that whatever that might be, whether it's sugar or food or, online usage or, a relationship in your life, it's really important to be aware that is impacting your ability to succeed or whatever it is you're trying to do. So I love the fact that this is really just for just about anybody. Personally, just about everybody I know has something in their life that they're using as some sort of a crutch, and it's holding them back from something, right? For whatever reason.
Well, here's exactly what it's holding them back from. It's not even a spiritual vague euphemism. Like, it's holding me back. I can tell you exactly what's holding back. What's holding people back is that they're not willing to look at the original stressful thought, and they're not willing to look at their own level of resilience in their physical body, so they don't feel so stressed out when they do believe a stressful thought. What holds people, what they're using it to numb out to, is to not fully own what they are believing. That's what that really means, being held back. Because underneath a stressful belief system, it takes a lot of energy to continue believing a stressful, untrue thought. And then when you question it, that thought, all of this huge reservoir of energy is unleashed, and you're therefore not held back anymore. So that's actually what that phrase really means.
That's so brilliant. It's fabulous, and it makes total sense. And I think a lot of people, though, might listen to this and say, well, that's not me. What do you think to that? I mean, how do people understand that maybe there is something that they're avoiding? You know what I'm saying?
It's for the people for people that believe that's not me.
It's okay. They're just not ready.
Either like you've got everything together, and you've truly done a lot of self inquiry, and
sure,
you're all good. Or I'm sorry to be blunt, but that's my job as a clinician. I have a Bostonian level of tact sometimes. My birthplace comes through my diplomacy. They're kidding themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of I'd say, like, for the person that says, like, that's not me, the invitation is to just take another look.
Sure.
Look at all the small things that you do that you're quietly not proud of.
Yeah.
That's another tip-off. What are you quietly not proud of?
That's really good.
Is it the extra serving of dessert? Is it watching an extra half hour of Game of Thrones? Or if it's not that, is it going to all the Wikipedia entries about it? Is it just clicking on one more news story? Is it about clicking onto one more Facebook thing? Is it watching one extra TV show? Is it taking one extra smoke, one extra drink? What are you quietly not proud of? And look there. What is the thought behind that need to do that one extra thing? Right.
Yes. Very good. And how is that impacting your life? That I don't know. I mean, personally, for me, TV's not my thing, but I sure do love sugar, and I love it. Like, I would love to have a little sweet something after a meal. And, and also too, I think biochemistry, we haven't talked about that too much, but true health imbalances, lack of amino acids and things like that. People start to reach for the caffeine. They start to reach. What do you say to that? Like, people who say, I'm addicted to coffee. I got to have my coffee. Like, is that harmless? Or is it, maybe it's not impacting your life and your relationships in such a serious way, but it certainly can be toxic, and it certainly can dehydrate you, and it certainly can keep you from feeling optimal, and it certainly can have an impact on your stress glands. So for someone that just says, well, yeah, I overconsume coffee, but I still get along fine in my day. I think, those people could probably benefit from hearing your teleseminar just to kind of get a sense of how do we look at our daily lives and our patterns of behavior and realize how we could do it better,
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of things to look at there because there's a bit to unpack. One is there's a specific thing, like the example you gave of coffee. Now, there's a lot of buzz in coffee, particularly in California, and it's okay if you add coconut oil or cinnamon or whatever.
Right.
That's a whole other large discussion, and that I put under the very loosely, perhaps clumsily, the how do we minimize the damage and then possibly use coffee as a delivery system for some really good nutrients, even though there may be some impact. And by the way, most of the problems with coffee come from the mold on the coffee beans, because really coffee is fine as long as you make sure it's mycotoxin free.
Yeah.
There's truth to that, for sure.
Uh-huh.
And I have personally, it's in my free ebook that the first ebook I ever wrote was on better breakfast, and the 4 common bad breakfasts that I saw with my chronically ill patients was that they either skipped breakfast, had sugar for breakfast, processed grains for breakfast, or they had just straight coffee for breakfast. And that was a trend that I saw. So with coffee specifically, it follows into the same realm of sugar. It's not sugar, but unless you added sugar to your coffee, using coffee as just a medium for sugar, a sugar delivery system. With coffee, you're getting that same kind of mental rush because the caffeine does wake you up and make you feel alert.
Sure.
Because feeling depressed and down, you feel down, not alert.
Yes.
So if someone is saying, well, I have me and my coffee, I'm fine, I'm totally with it. If you were totally with it, you wouldn't need the coffee.
Well, see, that's the thing. And nobody's in perfect, balance to the point where they don't or can't enjoy a little bit of something here or there. And that's, it's really more about when we overconsume something to the point where it impacts these certain criteria that it becomes an issue in our lives. So it's not that we're saying coffee is bad per se. There certainly are times when coffee can be very harmful, and there are times when coffee in moderation isn't going to be such a bad thing. But that's one that I hear a lot and see a lot where people are really, consuming quite a bit, and they're using it for the reason to be able to get through their day and whatnot. And that's where I encourage people to just look at today's a good day to do that. Just kind of look at your day, look at your schedule. What do you do in the morning? What do you do? Because most people, we're such creatures of habits. They go out and do the same things over and over and over. Is there something in your day that you couldn't live without? Is there something in your day, like you said, that you're quietly not too proud of? If there is, then definitely jump on this teleseminar tomorrow, because obviously the listeners can hear that you are a wealth of information and you really know your stuff, and you offer a lot of great suggestions to help bring people's lives, their bodies, their health, and their lives back into a better balance where, like you said, they can flourish and be a much better person.
Yeah, thank you. And I think what will be appropriate then is to put to put in context where, say, things like coffee or daily habits would fit in with this model.
Right.
Will be covered on tomorrow's teleseminar.
Great.
So if we've got this BEAST model, BEAST, believe a stressful thought, have an emotional, physical response, then you anesthetize yourself with a vice, smolder in the consequences, have terrible thoughts about the consequences.
Yes.
If you believe them, then you feel bad, and the cycle continues.
Right.
So each phase has a different way, a different blueprint to correct course. So at the top of the list for the believing a stressful thought, we have to resolve the underlying stressful beliefs. And there's many ways to do it. I strongly recommend the work of Byron Katie. There's many other ways to deal with root stressful belief systems. So that every solution, every blueprint I've come up with begins with R, because I really try to make this model user-friendly, which is particularly important for people who are struggling with overuse syndromes or excessive use or addictions, because when you're in the throes of it, it's very hard to snap out of it.
That's so
but
true.
If you have a helpful mnemonic, then you can snap out of it easier.
That's awesome.
So at the belief level, we want to resolve the stressful beliefs. Now, where coffee and all the other lifestyle habits come in is at the second phase, the E, the emotional physicals response.
Yes.
The way to the blueprint's a correct course for that. The key word is resilience. Resilience is to rebuild and rebalance the adrenal system, the brain, the body, and the biochemistry, and to increase your resilience. Because if you have high resilience, you're going to be less stressed out at a stressful thought, and you're going to be less likely to reach for a vice. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's so very, very, very true.
So with coffee, so let's talk about the lifestyle stuff in there.
Yeah.
So what can we do to increase resilience? Well, let's move completely away from coffee, and let's talk about sleep. All right?
Yes.
If you've got, well, there's a relationship between the two, especially if you have coffee at 6 p.m., but anyway.
For sure.
So sleep. So then what my father, Dr. Jonathan Shay, he wrote two books on post-traumatic stress disorder and worked with a lot of patients, Vietnam veterans who had terrible addictions and all sorts of stuff going on. And he says categorically and that sleep improves every single 100% of all symptoms of PTSD.
Interesting.
Now, that is a very strong statement
it is.
For the medical profession to make. And he says that it's absolutely categorically true. So in his books and in his talks, he always talks about sleep. Now, we take it a step slightly away from severe war trauma and into civilians. That statement also holds true, okay? If you have better quality sleep, then your resilience goes up.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
There's no doubt about it. It's so very true.
Right. And so when we look at how to increase resilience, what we're going to do is go over another model, a sub-framework, there's frameworks within frameworks, the 10 pillars of wellness. And we look at the brain and nervous system and how to increase the resilience of that. Like, for example, avoiding neurotoxic chemicals, like especially aspartame, which is the artificial sweetener. That's definitely damaging the nervous system. We look at bowels. So I know it may seem funny for people to hear that on the radio, but if you can't get rid of all your toxic residues, you're just going to be building up an internal toxic waste in your body, which increases inflammation and taxes your liver and otherwise affects your whole level of resilience. We're going to talk about the physical body, if you've got chronic pain or old injuries, untreated old injuries will lower your resilience. Improper exercise like burst training. If you don't do high-intensity interval training and if you don't walk enough, your resilience will go down. If you're toxic with something, if you have biotoxins in your body, you will have lower resilience. If your bionutrients are not sufficient, if you're skipping or having a bad breakfast, your resilience will go down. If you're severely bothered by other stresses, whether it's financial stress or emotional stress or marital stress or family stress, community stress, that's going to lower your resilience. And then bugs. This is your relationship with you and everything microscopic. If there's an imbalance in your gut flora, you're going to have lower resilience. If you have a chronic infection, you're going to have lower resilience. If you have mold in your house, you're going to have lower resilience. And the last pillar of wellness is bedtime or sleep, like we just talked about. So these 10 pillars of wellness, these 10 points of wellness, brain, bowel, body, burst exercise, biotoxins, bionutrients, breakfast bothers bugs, and bedtime. Again, another alliterative mnemonic.
I love it.
It's a checklist to go through and see where am I at risk of lowering my resilience? What am I doing every day? What is my checklist to see where is my wellness number? Like where is I'm just pulling that number. I'm sure someone's created that number already. I'm not. I'm just.
Well, I think you need to make one to go with your checklist.
Okay, I've already got all the questions written up. I just haven't formalized the name of it. But
it's awesome.
A lot of the clients and patients that work with me, they're really excited to work with me until I send them the number of forms and questions.
I bet.
They're like, oh my God.
It's like, see you in 3 months.
Is this a punishment?
Yeah. No, that's great, though, because then it really helps you understand what their needs are. So in your teleseminar tomorrow, it covers all of these things we're talking about, correct?
It's going to cover these. Again, given the nature of the teleseminar, we're going to go into a bit more detail. We're also going to cover more of the third, fourth, and fifth phase.
Great.
Which is just to give the title, just to deal with. So first phase, we resolve the stressful beliefs. Second phase is resilience by rebuilding and rebalancing the adrenals, brain, body, and biochemistry.
Great.
Third phase for the anesthetizing phase, where we reach for the vice. Mm-hmm. This is where the vices get specific. So this is where we restrict, remove, and replace the vice.
Great.
That's the R mnemonic for that. So this is where we have to deal with the vice itself. Then the fourth phase, which is the smolder, or with all the damage, we reverse the damage and make amends. So the R for there is reverse the damage, and we make amends, not only to ourselves, but to those around us.
I love it.
And then for T, the terrible thoughts after the smolder, this is where we reach out for help.
Okay,
this
good.
This is the phase where people reach out and they assess. They accept that they have an issue, they assess the situation, they ask for help, and then they act on the necessary changes. And then the question is, well, what are the changes that we need to enact? The other 4 R's: resolve beliefs, increase resilience, restrict, remove, replace, and reverse the damage.
That's awesome. And so you're going to be covering all this in the teleseminar tomorrow. And this is really designed to, your teleseminar is designed to help people who have challenges with excessive behaviors or anything from excessive use of, for example, sugar or food or a relationship or online use, just anything that people are overusing that might be impacting their lives negatively, all the way up to someone who might have an addiction, right?
Correct. And it's for people who want the help, not just need it.
Right. I think that's really important. That's people who are ready, saying, I need a structured program to help me find better balance, to help me not say, want the sugar all the time or, eat the junk foods as much or whatever. It's a nice structured program that really helps people move beyond whatever it is that they're overusing, over-focusing on, and to being able to flourish in better balance.
Right. That's exactly it. I mean, this is one of my biggest passions right now is to work with people's overuse or excessive use in their addictions, because I've been through this, sugar, video games, and I would really love to redefine the entire discussion on addictions. And
I agree.
I want to, if I could do one thing for the world, is to give this model as the new narrative to empower people about their problematic relationships with a substance, with a screen, with the behavior. That it's an empowering, practical model, not like it's just about willpower or some other stuff. It encompasses all the different aspects of the newest research and everything, and encompasses modern neuroscience with neuroplasticity. It accounts for epigenetics, which is your influences around that would drive you in that direction.
Sure.
Modern-day belief systems, the ways to make amends. I'm trying to make this as comprehensive yet as pragmatic and easy to follow and understand as possible. And if people want to join me on this no-cost live teleseminar, all you got to do, just go to Heather's Facebook page and just hit the link to join the teleseminar. And it's going to be live, so that means that people can have an opportunity to ask me questions.
That's great.
And I'll be there and answer them.
That's awesome.
Because I know this is not necessarily like if people probably have a bunch of questions in their head as they're listening to this, and that's what the teleseminar is for.
For sure. And also, too, if anybody does have any questions, you can always leave questions on the Facebook page. Just write in the comment, and Dr. Shay will see them. If you have a question about the teleseminar or the work that Dr. Shay does, you can also visit him on his website at 10pointwellness.com. For the seminar, you're going to go to Body Talk Sonoma on Facebook. So just go to Facebook, and it's facebook.com/Body Talk Sonoma. And right there is posted the information and the link for Dr. Shay's teleseminar tomorrow. And, the work that you're doing, Dr. Shay, is truly, I think that it's actually more than timely. It's cutting edge. And, you said you'd like to redefine the whole story around addiction. And it's true. I think that we live in an over excessive addictive type culture, and just about everybody from little kids who are being fed formula where the first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup to their eyes are sitting on the screen by the time they're 1, and their hands are on the phones and everything by the time they're 5. We are a culture of over excessive everything, and so people need structure. They need assistance. They need structure and guidance in how to really take a look at themselves in their lives and pinpoint what are the things that I may be doing that are I might be abusing or overusing in nature, and how can I use this structure to move beyond that and to flourish?
Yeah, I'm looking at the image for the flourish out of your addictions, and I picked a lotus coming out of the mud.
I love that.
And for those of you that aren't aware, the lotuses grow in very mucky, dirty areas, and that's why a lot of spiritual traditions use the image of the lotus. And the intention of this program, by providing a structure, a 5-phase structure that's very easy to follow. We're not just about recovering, okay? Because the image of recovering means that you still got bags under your eyes and you're kind of like stumbling along and whatnot. And that, me talking about recovering in those terms may be offensive to some people, and frankly, I'm okay with that. I want to go beyond simply recover. I want to go into flourish, because lotus emerges up, and from this dirt, from this muck, from this really harsh source, kind of rough stuff, we can emerge as a stronger, more loving, powerful person, because we've been through the experience of overuse, excessive use, and addiction. We now have such a more profound perspective on life. And because we've been through that and thrived out of it, flourished out of it, we are stronger than we were before, as opposed to carrying this label around like a lead weight. We use it as fertilizer to flourish up, as opposed to a label we drag around with us for the rest of our life. And that's that's how I want to redefine not just how we talk about addiction, but where we can use it as fertile soil to flourish out up from.
That's wonderful. Great work, Dr. Sam Shay out of New Zealand. Again, Dr. Sam Shay is hosting a teleseminar tomorrow, and you can access the ability to sign up for this at no cost by going to the link on either going to 10 Point Wellness. Can they access it through 10 Point Wellness as well, Dr. Shay?
They can. They can. If they're listening to this radio show, check out the Facebook page first.
Body Talk Sonoma.
If they want more information on other stuff, they can also check out my blog, but they can access it either way.
Great. So we've got the link ready for you, our listeners, at Body Talk Sonoma on Facebook, and you can go get yourself registered. And like Dr. Shay said, the registration is closing tonight at midnight, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. But wonderful, wonderful insights. Really appreciate you joining the show and sharing your incredible wealth of knowledge and really more importantly, the work that you've put into creating programs, guided, structured programs that really will help people to live a better life. And I encourage everybody to go check it out on our Facebook page or at 10 Point Wellness and visit Dr. Shay. And I look forward to hearing from any of our listeners who have the pleasure of joining your teleseminar. I really would love to hear the good feedback. I've just already heard so many great things about your programs and appreciate you being here for our community and our listeners and offering your great advice.
Thank you, Heather. I really, really love talking with you on your radio show. It's a lot of fun, and
thank you.
Yeah, I feel so privileged to be able to share this with such a wider audience.
Lucky for Sonoma, because we're so grateful to have you imparting all your great wisdom and sharing with us all of the good work you're doing. So we'll look forward to having you back here on the show again in a few weeks and talking about more great health and wellness tips and strategies.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great week.
KSVY Sonoma.